Hello everyone, and welcome back to our journey through Charles Dickens' masterpiece, Great Expectations. In our last video, we left young Pip just as his life was about to take an incredible turn. He was an apprentice blacksmith, dreaming of a life beyond the forge, a life with the beautiful but cold Estella. Just when it seemed his future was set, a visitor arrived with astonishing news. This visitor is a London lawyer named Mr. Jaggers, and he carries a message that will change everything. Pip is to receive a handsome property and be raised as a gentleman. He has great expectations, thanks to a mysterious, anonymous benefactor. Pip immediately assumes this benefactor must be the eccentric Miss Havisham, who wants to groom him to marry Estella. With a heavy heart, Pip bids farewell to his kindest friend, Joe Gargery, and his sister, Mrs. Joe. He feels a pang of guilt for leaving them, especially Joe, but the allure of London and the promise of a new life are too strong to resist. Arriving in London, Pip is overwhelmed by the city's noise and chaos. He meets Mr. Jaggers in his rather grim office and is then introduced to his new flatmate, Herbert Pocket. In a delightful twist, Pip recognizes Herbert as the pale young gentleman he fought in Miss Havisham's garden years ago. Far from being enemies, they become the best of friends. Herbert, warm and good-natured, begins teaching Pip the manners and customs of a gentleman. He also gives Pip a new nickname, Handel, after the composer who wrote a piece called The Harmonious Blacksmith. It's a perfect fit. Herbert also shares some crucial backstory about Miss Havisham. We learn the tragic tale of how she was jilted on her wedding day by a heartless conman who schemed with her jealous half-brother. This is why she stopped all the clocks at the moment of her heartbreak, and remains in her decaying wedding dress, raising Estella to be a heartbreaker, to take revenge on all men. Pip begins his education with Herbert's father, Matthew Pocket, who is a cousin of Miss Havisham's and a genuinely good man. He also befriends his fellow students, the foppish Bentley Drummle and the good-natured Startop. Pip's life becomes a whirlwind of new clothes, social engagements, and accumulating debt. He tries to live the life of a proper gentleman, but he can't quite shake off his humble origins or his feelings of unease. He's living on someone else's money, with no real purpose of his own. One day, Pip receives a letter from Biddy, informing him that his sister, Mrs. Joe, has passed away. He returns to the village for the funeral, feeling a mix of grief and guilt for having neglected his family. His visit is brief and awkward. He promises Joe he'll visit again soon, but his new life in London quickly reclaims him. Back in the city, Pip's life continues its glamorous, yet empty, trajectory. He learns that Estella has finished her education in France and is coming to London to be introduced into society. Pip is overjoyed, convinced that this is part of Miss Havisham's grand plan for them to be together. He escorts her to balls and parties, but his hopes are repeatedly dashed. Estella is admired by many men but remains emotionally distant, warning Pip that she is incapable of love and will only break his heart. She openly flirts with the brutish and wealthy Bentley Drummle, which infuriates Pip. Despite her coldness and these clear warnings, Pip's infatuation only deepens. The second stage of Pip's life culminates on a dark and stormy night. Pip is now 23 years old, living alone in his London apartment. He hears heavy footsteps on the stairs. A rough, weathered man enters his room, a man Pip vaguely recognizes. To his utter shock and horror, this stranger reveals himself to be Abel Magwitch, the very convict Pip helped on the marshes all those years ago. And then comes the final devastating revelation. Magwitch, not Miss Havisham, is his secret benefactor. All his wealth, his gentlemanly status, his great expectations, they all came from this escaped convict. Pip's world is completely shattered. This incredible cliffhanger marks the end of the second part of the novel. Pip's dream has turned into a nightmare. What will he do now? How will he deal with the return of the man who made him, a man who is a hunted criminal? We'll explore all of that in our next and final video on Great Expectations. Thanks so much for watching. If you're enjoying this series, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the dramatic conclusion. See you next time.